Today on What It's Like, this is the first Swedish car that we've done so far. How cool! But before getting into all of it, I'm Jay. Welcome to What It's Like. This channel, we dive in deep on the classics, vintage, some exotics, lots of orphan cars, and cars that tend to get lost in the back. Specs, period ads, button switches, and knobs. And most importantly, we find out what these cars were like. If that sounds like a channel that you will totally dig, subscribe and hit the bell icon next to it to never miss a video. This 1968 Saab 96 Deluxe is currently for sale at Classic Auto Mall. What's Classic Auto Mall? Classic Auto Mall, the largest auto consignment dealer in the northeastern region of the US of A, with over 800 cars for sale when recording this episode. Anybody can go there. It doesn't cost a dime to get in. For more pictures, pricing, and information pertaining to this very car, click the link below after the show. For those that don't know, Saab AB is a Swedish aerospace and defense company which was founded in 1937. Fast forward to 1945, just right after World War II was over, they wanted to start experimenting with a small car concept. Their first product was the model Saab 92, and it was launched a few years later in 1949. Saab lasted until 1968, and then they merged to form Saab Scania. That lasted until 1990, and then they partnered with GM until 2000 when GM bought them out and remained the parent company until 2010. Spyker NV owned them from 2010 to 2012. NEVS or NEVS owned them from 2012 to 2014, and then the inevitable happened, bankruptcy in 2016. And to be clear, this was Saab, not Saab AB, the aerospace company. That is still alive and kicking. Let's talk 1968 Saab. Saab offered three models in 1968. The 95, which was their quirky wagon offering. The Sonnet, which was their Carmen Ghia-like offering, sort of like a GT car, not a sports car. And there's going to be a lot of references to the Carmen Ghia. Even though the Carmen Ghia and the Saab are two totally different cars, they share a lot of similarities, which we're going to talk about as the video goes on. And then they offered the 96. It's worth mentioning that they made an all-new model that came at the end of the 1968 model year called the 99. Saab offered the 96 from 1960 to 1980. The 96 model replaced the 93 model. The Saab 93 was the predecessor to the Saab 92, which started everything for Saab in the car market. And I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but the Europeans did things differently than what we did over here in the United States. They kept building the same car for years, maybe even decades, and just made simple modifications as time went on. But the shape of the car design stayed the same. If you don't believe me, look at Volkswagen. They were the king of doing that. The Carmen Ghia was built from 1955 to 1974, with the only major change to the body being the lowlights, which were produced from 1955 to 1959, and the headlights were just slightly lower, hence the name lowlight. The original Beetle was built from 1938 to 2003, same overall shape, and the Saab 96 is just like that. Now it's time for the comparison. Let's compare 67 to 68. Spoiler alert, the only major difference is it has a different steering wheel. So let's compare the 1959 Saab 93 to the 1968 Saab 96. 93 on top, 96 on the bottom, starting in the front. And it's worth pointing out that the 96, even though they look very similar, the 96 has a bigger backlight and the front end was lengthened. But the overall shape is still the same, even though they're different. Anyway, starting in the front, same shape. Side note, I've read that the first car that Saab made, the 92, was built as a single piece. And that's why I've been comparing it to the Carmen Ghia, because the only parts that came off of the Carmen Ghia were the doors, trunk, and hood, and it's the same for this car, but I haven't been able to confirm that with the 96. They said that for the 92, but I was just assuming that it would carry over because most of the body parts are roughly the same. If you know in the comment section below if they changed that. One more side note, I know we're going down a bunch of different alleys on this one, but I only know of 3 cars that were built like that, like one single solid piece. And the only downer is if you get hit, you're totally screwed. But the Carmen Ghia was built like that. The Alfa Romeo Juliet was built like that. And possibly this car. Like I said, in the comment section below, I didn't read anything if they changed it or not. So it's kind of like a gray area. With the car being as similar as it was to the 93, I would think that they just kept it the way it was, but I couldn't find anything to back that up. The front of the 59 93 looks very Jag-esque to me, but different. It keeps the same overall shape. Windshield looks taller on the 96. Moving to the side profile, the 93, in my opinion, has much cleaner lines. The body moldings or lines sculpted into the body are roughly the same. Just look at them. They are the exact same. The trim has been revised, side moldings revised, as well as hubcaps and or wheel covers. The 93, the one on top, has a much more flowing design, fastback-esque look, whereas the 96 on the bottom has a bigger backlight, but it doesn't have the lines. I should say it doesn't flow as nice as the 93. The 93 just looks amazing. It just flows all together. The 96 looks kind of like it's chopped. What do you guys think in the comment section below? Moving to the rear, in the rear quarter section. Very similar, yet different, but the 93 has that fastback appearance like we've talked about. Smaller backlight. The 96 has a larger wraparound backlight, improved rear visibility at the cost of clean flowing lines. The 96 has this really weird scoop feature that's located just to the right or the left of the backlight, depending on what side of the car you're looking at, and it's just tucked right behind the rear window, and it's super weird, and I have no idea what it's there for. If you know, in the comment section below. Moving to the dash section, the gauge faces, or at least they look the same, which is crazy to me. Which one do you like better, the 93 or the 96? Moving on to specs. 164 inches long, 62.2 inches wide. It's 57.9 inches tall. It rides a wheelbase of 98.3 inches. It weighs 1,797 pounds. Price is anywhere between $1,990 and $2,550, which that's equivalent to you spending $16,972.01, or on the high end, $21,748.06 in the year 2023. Total 1968 Saab production was 52,551 units across all three, possibly four models. Moving on to engines, which there are two. This is a bit of conflicting information. According to one source that I read, by 1967, this first power plant that I'm about to tell you was discontinued in favor for the second one. But I've found other cars from like the 68 and 69 that also have this power plant in there. So, and this was Saab's claim to fame. Powering the front wheels, 750cc inline, 3-cylinder, 2-stroke, 0.8 liters. It's good for 42 horsepower, 5,000 RPM, 59 pound-feet of torque at 3,000 RPM with a compression rating of 8.5 to 1, 4 main bearings with an aluminum head. Second engine on offer, 1498cc V4, 1.5 liters. It was made by Ford in Germany. 73 brake horsepower, 5,000 RPM, 87 pound-feet of torque at 2,700 RPM with a compression rating of 9 to 1, 3 main bearings built of cast iron, and this one was a 4-stroke engine. Let's talk styling. So it's got turn signal indicators, bumpers. Notice the bumpers wrap around and come back to the wheel well back here. Look, it's got the same shape as an Edsel horse collar grille right there. I love the way that the hood comes down into a point. It's also pointy right here, center line. Look at how it rounds in the front. Also, check out this line right here and how it comes back, and then it tapers back into the fender. It's got the rocker molding. This reminds me of like a Carmen Ghia. Kind of did the same thing. Gravel guard, slight fender bulge. It also has this nice line that comes out the back. Gas filler cap is on the driver's side where I think it should be. Coming back to the rear section back here. Look at how massive these taillights are for government regulations, but this is a 68. So it's very interesting that they're this big by 68. Just take a look at this side profile. It looks like a fastback. It's almost like a semi-fastback because it comes down and it stops for the rear window and then it keeps going. Like, just take a look at that shape. Also, check this out. It's got full drip rails that come the whole way down and out the back. Nice place for you to put your hand. I don't understand why they did this whole thing. I don't know if it lets air out somehow. Interesting. Walking up and getting inside. So just notice how thin this door is. Look at the door frame going around. It reminds me of like a Jaguar XKE or maybe even an E-Type. It's very, very thin. Here's my finger for reference. And that's not the window, this is the door frame. Coming down and talking about the door panel, notice it's two-toned. It's black up on top. It's more like a graphite gray here, maybe even a dolphin gray, but it's like a medium gray to black down here. Armrest as well as door handle to pull the door shut. This is the window crank for the big window, and this is the door handle to get out. Notice the window doesn't go all the way down, and it operates like this. That is so cool. Very, very quirky window function. In the comment section, if you know what these are for, they look like some sort of deflector of some sort, but it's very interesting. I never saw that before. Coming down inside the pedal box down here, notice the pedals are kind of pushed more towards the center, and then you got the high beam switch there, clutch, brake, gas pedal. Notice how small those pedals are. They're really small. Interesting thing I saw down here, this looks like a storage container of some sort. Like you could just put stuff in there. It's very weird and random. Maybe it's for your mail. I don't know. If you know what that's for, in the comment section below. Also, check out how flat the floor is. There isn't a transmission tunnel. It's completely flat. And the emergency brake is a handbrake right here. Just check out this interior. That's what the door sounds like shutting. Here's what over the hood looks like. Here's what first person over the hood looks like. Here is under the steering wheel situation, and I only show this because if you are about the same size as I am, then you're gonna fit in this car perfect. I wear size 34 pants, and if you don't fit in the car, a lot of times these cars, the steering wheels don't telescope or tilt, the seats don't move. The seats do move in this car, but if you don't fit in the car, you can't really buy it. On to the button switches and knobs, starting on the left and moving right. So I scoured the internet and I could not find what some of these buttons do. So if you know what they are, please fill us in the comment section below, because some of the hieroglyphics that they chose to put on these buttons are interesting. So starting on the left, temperature, vent, defrost, fan, 4-ways. The two on the bottom are the ones that I'm not sure of, but if I was to give a guess, I would say headlights, and the second one looks like the second coming of Christ. But I mean, the windshield washer feature. But I mean, like, look at that. Who would put that as the windshield washer thing? I don't even know if that's what it does. Tachometer in the center, coolant temperature, gasoline gauge, speedometer. Notice it's in miles per hour. It has odometer and trip inside of it. Ignition just below that, lighter, and then clock, ashtray right underneath the clock. Up above, there are sun visors. Here's what they look like. Here's my hand for reference. They're good sized sun visors. That's the one on the driver's side. Here is the rear view mirror, passenger side sun visor. On to the glove box test. Here's our test subject. Here's my hand for reference. Here is our glove box in question. And they chose to put a radio, looks like an aftermarket one, in half of the glove box. So if you see here, the glove box door is actually cut to fit. But there still is relatively a large amount of space over here on the side. It's just not big enough to put the camera in. If the radio wasn't there, I'm fairly certain that it would fit in this glove box, no issue whatsoever. Ashtray right here. Getting in the back seat, just move the seat forward. And that is how much space you have to get back there. Here is what the front from the back looks like. Let's take a gander at the greenhouse real quick. The greenhouse in this car is actually pretty good. That is the glass to pillar ratio. It feels very airy in here, that's for sure. And the shelf back here is absolutely huge. Like, I could barely touch the back of it right there, but I have really long arms as well. So just check out the seat profile here. It does dip down quite a bit back here, but it's not as bad as a mid-50s Ford. It is rather upright as well. There are some creature comforts. Grab handle, as well as it doubles as a coat hook up here, I suppose. Ashtray, but notice the ashtray is only on the passenger side. There isn't one on the driver's side. The driver's side does have an armrest, and it cuts into the panel. Just check that out. That's very interesting. The windows do open back here. Open up vent style like that. Just like a Karmann Ghia. On the driver's side, there is a light, and that is the only light that is in here unless there are some lights in the footwells. This is what I look like sitting in the back. Without a fro, my hair is not grazing the top of the headliner like it was the last time. So there's about a handful of space between my head and the top of the roof, the headliner. So I don't really have a whole lot of knee space. It's actually kind of negative. The person that would be driving this car would have to scoot the seat up a little bit to be comfortable. But it's really not that bad back here. There's more room in the back of this car than there is in a lot of, like, say, Volkswagen Karmann Ghia. Getting into the trunk region. So one would think that you push this button, but you don't. That's actually where the key goes. You just turn this, and that pops it. Got a nice trunk prop to hold it, but that trunk actually is pretty big. Look at how far back it goes. It's really nice. You can store some golf bags in there. Back up so you can see the opening. Moving to the under the hood section. Very interesting. So the engine's in the front, but the battery is placed behind the engine. This one's got the V4, and the hood and or bonnet opens opposite, much like a late 50s Ford. Just check out everything that's going on in here. There's an alternator. I'm not sure if that's an upgrade coil. It's just a very interesting setup, how they chose to do things on this car. On to the pros and cons. We are getting all of these pros and cons from the complete book of collectible cars, Blue Chip Auto Investment, 70 years from 1930 to 2000 by Richard M. Langworth and the Auto Editors of Consumer Guide. On the positives: front-wheel drive handling and roadability, durability, good accommodation, comparatively rare now, affordable, against it, noisy, smoky, two-stroke engine, parts, now hard to come by, styling, sure to inspire argument. All right, now it's time for Name That Tune. First person to give me both the correct name of the band as well as song title. First person to do both correctly will have their comment pinned to the top of the comment section. Alright, now it's time for Would You Rather, and we don't have to make this complicated. We don't have to bring money into this. It could just be, just imagine if you had the opportunity, somebody was giving you these cars and money's no object. They're the same price. Just imagine it's the same playing field or whatever. Two scenarios. Starting with the first scenario, would you rather have a 1959 Saab 93 or a 1968 Saab 96? Second scenario, would you rather have a 1959 Volkswagen Karmann Ghia or a 1959 Saab 93 or a 1959 Alfa Romeo Juliet Special? And if I butchered the name, I'm sorry. I'm not Italian and I'm kind of sick and I'm dyslexic and yeah, so which one would you rather have in the comment section below? If you'd like to get in touch with me, shoot me a comment in the comment section below. I read and answer all comments posted. Second way is we have a Facebook group that correlates with this YouTube channel. If you'd like to check it out, the link will be in the description. Don't have Facebook and would like to talk to me one-on-one, shoot me an email. My email will also be linked in the description. So if I catch you on any other social media platform, just know that I appreciate all the support. And until next time, here are some scenes for our next episode. Highly requested 1964 Oldsmobile Starfire. Just wow, this car was absolutely incredible. That's what's next on What It's Like. Tune in Thursday at 4:30 for that episode. I need to take a day because I've been under the weather, and I only tell you guys that because I try to be as transparent as possible with you guys, because I try to run this channel different than anybody else runs theirs. So, yep, that's what's coming up next. And until then, toodaloo! Metakalikimoka is a thing they say on this bright Hawaiian Christmas day. That's the island greeting that they send to you for the land where palm trees sway. I know it's not Christmas, but that's the only time that I can ever hit those low notes without effort while under the weather.